Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. So we're now in the first week of President Trump's new administration, 47. What a ring it has to us. As I keep saying on this show, it's days and weeks like this that we waited for a very long time. For me, it's been 8 years, but the administration is hard at work, pulling out of the WHO recently this week, getting rid of all the DEI requirements in the military, all that nonsense, securing our southern border, pulling out of the globalist elite agendas, the World Economic Forums, the Davos elites, getting rid of all that nonsense, the Paris Climate Accords. President Trump is hard at work, and he's keeping his campaign promises. One that I'm particularly fond of is the January 6th pardons. He told us time and time again that we were going to be happy with the decision that he was going to come to with getting those people the righted wrongs, some of them in jail without any trial, no due process for years. And most of them, over 1,500 of them, were walked out of jails this week. Some of them on Tuesday night, on Monday night, walking out of jails free to be back with their families. And now I think it's time for those folks to look at why they were there and the repercussions of the government for doing what they did to them, the reparations that is owed to these folks whose lives were taken away from them. I think it's something that we all need to think about over the next 4 years, the next 100 days, and figure out ways of how we can help these folks integrate back into everyday life. And for the folks who were wronged by this U.S. government, I think they need to look in to see what's owed to them by the U.S. government. So I want to get into today's show. Our guest is former Navy SEAL, and he's the host of the Operator podcast, Rob O'Neill, great American. He happens to be the Navy SEAL who shot and killed Osama bin Laden. Folks, as I mentioned, former Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill is our guest today. Rob, great to have you with us.
Hey, John, thanks for having me.
I want to start with first the monumental swearing in of President Trump, 45, 47 now, back in the White House. First, your roadmap for President Trump as he enters back in his second term, probably really his third term, in my opinion. But now as he enters back in his second term, and the headwinds he already has, lawsuits already coming from that big old Tish James up in New York. They're suing him out in San Francisco because he wants illegals out of this country. So first, I want to begin with the roadmap President Trump has going forward.
I think the roadmap is like he started it, make America great again. And I mean, just with that, again, watching the way the left spins that into ultra MAGA, like they don't even know what that means. Anyone that thinks make America great again is some sort of domestic terrorism is obviously so far out of the loop or so engulfed in the deep state that they don't even know what they're doing. I mean, it's to the point right now, like we realize that an overwhelming victory for Donald Trump and how many millions voted for Donald Trump. What you're seeing is people voted for him because they want America to be great, but now they're realizing you don't quite realize how many freedoms were taken from you until you start to get them back. And so what he wants to do is get America great. I mean, look at the new AI deal with the three companies that $1 million square foot place in Texas, 100,000 new jobs. They admitted we wouldn't have done this with Biden or Harris. Just drill, baby, drill. Get rid of the EV mandates. Get rid of the stupid windmills that are driving whales insane. All the dumb stuff that the elites are trying to pass based on their personal power in a one world government. America's smartening up to, and I think hopefully one of the ways forward. And he doesn't have 4 years to do it. I think it's his first 100 days, yes. But just to see what they can do, like as far as the JFK files, the UFO files, all the stuff that's been covered up. Previous administrations, to include his 45th administration, was, well, America doesn't really need to see this. Hopefully they change their pulse because they had 4 years to think about it, 4 years for attorneys to prepare for what they're about to do. And to say America's not ready to see it is BS. If we're voting for these people, show us. And, even Kash Patel said, well, he's seen these, the JFK files and America doesn't need to see it. Yes, we do. And why wouldn't you show us stuff like that? Most people involved with the JFK assassination and that conspiracy are dead anyway. What's it going to embarrass the CIA? Who cares? We should know what this intel people are doing, have been doing back to, the first Bushes that were involved back to the Mayflower. I mean, same names have always been involved with different, everything from the founding of the country to who was actually on the Titanic when it sank and why. We should know who's trying to pull the strings, especially when we're giving guys like George Soros the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is for Americans. This dude's a no-kidding Nazi from Nazi-occupied Hungary. We should know all this stuff too. Not only that too, but get rid of the Department of Education so we can actually teach our kids not only learn how to read, which they don't know how to do, but some history, because history is written by the winners. We're the winners. We should be teaching it.
It's so interesting, the JFK files, because I just want to mention something real quickly. The day you killed Osama bin Laden, the day you walked out of that compound, we knew everything. We knew who you were. We knew who your team was. We knew that you guys had a helicopter that crashed outside that you had to burn because of technology. You guys are smarter, by the way, Rob, than anybody in this Pentagon, this administration, to realize that, the thing burnt down, the chopper's out of commission. Let's burn the thing, not like leaving, all that equipment behind in Afghanistan. You guys were the smart ones, but we knew all about that. You guys, I would argue, have a bigger target on your back from killing Osama bin Laden than anybody would have on their back from killing RFK Jr. Now, if he was assassinated by an innocent bystander, then it wasn't by the government, I think this would have been out already. I mean, with all we've learned, Robert, over the last just 10 years with President Trump, with the deception, with the lawfare, with the lawsuits, with everything they tried to do to sink the man, with 2 failed assassination attempts on the man, there's no doubt in my mind that the government tried to kill and successfully killed JFK Jr., JFK.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even look at, that's back in the day when you had one news reporter on one station. You got Walter Cronkite talking about Vietnam and turning it that way, but we just believed everything because you should be a good person. But if you look at it, like Lee Harvey Oswald, who wasn't even a marksman in the Marine Corps, and when he gets rolled up, all he's saying is, "Look, I'm a patsy. I don't know what's going on." And then Jack Ruby kills him like he's a great American. No, he's a hustler in Dallas that has failed businesses, and he got paid off to do something to pretend he cared about JFK. It's a cover up. I mean, look what happened in Pennsylvania. You got one shooter on a roof, a teenager or whatever that didn't have social media. They scrubbed everything. The way it was probably supposed to go is he shoots Trump, they shoot him. It's over. Story's over, and we can blame Iran and go to war. And people like Lindsey Graham are happy, and Liz Cheney's happy, because we get to build more stuff and go to war some more so their dads can get rich, so they can get rich. So, I mean, again, if it was as simple as a bystander, we would have known off the bat, but they've been covering up for how long? And then you get people like Donald Trump, with all due respect, and Kash Patel that see it and say, well, America doesn't need to know why. And they say, well, it's not because it's not who you think it was. It's just some other stuff behind it. Well, what is that? That the CIA is corrupt and they're spying on us right now, that they will shoot you if you go against the system. I mean, look at the like that, JFK bucked the system, Trump bucked the system. One was killed, one was attempted twice, maybe 3 times. And that's the deep state. And that's who you see. I mean, how many security clearance did he revoke yesterday from the intel people that signed that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation? Was it 51?
51 plus, hold on, John Bolton. That was the one that I would.
Yeah, I mean, there too. I mean, other than a great mustache, that guy's as useless as tits on a fish. But why do they have security clearances anyway? These people are running to the elite media and telling them stuff they shouldn't have the clearance to know the stuff, to leak it to the press so they can spin it, so they can keep their friends, to include both sides of the aisle in office. Hopefully, we're seeing a shakeup, and I'm excited to see it. I like seeing it, and I got nothing else going on, so let's do this.
Well, and speaking of John Bolton apparently had Secret Service protections. Who the hell is John Bolton that anyone gives a damn about John Bolton for him to be walking around with government-paid Secret Service? And then he has the audacity to go on CNN yesterday and say, well, when Biden came in, he knew it was a grave threat to me because of all the great work I did, so that I needed this. Trump doesn't care about me. Dude, you went out, you wrote a book, you lied. You leaked all these government secrets, all this deceptive stuff, and you sit here and you still think that you should hold a security clearance, that you should have any sort of security protection. Dude, you're nobody. You're a CNN columnist. If we're giving you security, let's go give it to Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper and Anderson Cooper, because you're no different than the rest of them. There's no media anymore, Rob. We're the media.
Karine Jean-Pierre has Secret Service, or did. And so did, I think, Anthony Blinken, even though the State Department has their own details. They beefed up I forget his name, but that cop that shot Ashley Babbitt with a negligent discharge.
Michael Berg.
Yeah, same cop who left his gun in a gun-free zone, which is a bathroom in the welcoming center at the Capitol. They upgraded his house for security like $21,000. You know how much security all 23 guys on the Bin Laden raid got? Zero, nothing, not even a phone call.
That's what I mean.
But I mean, thank God John Brennan's safe.
Well, the thing is, they knew you guys were all men. I mean, there's nobody. There's a lot of people I'd go mess with, Rob, and showing up at your house in the middle of the night is probably not one of the things that I would personally do. Nor do I know anybody who would. Well,
I'm not going to go looking for it, but I have a feeling the next guy I kill will be in my own house, about 2 feet in the front door after I blast him with a shotgun.
The problem is we live in New York, where the laws aren't exactly favorable to the people defending their homes. There's a whole sort of group of criteria. You can't shoot the guy in the back if he's running out of your house. So you got to tell him to turn around. Hey, look at me. Stop right there, and then shoot him, because it's up against us, and that's what we get for now living in New York. It's not exactly favorable. Speaking of crime, illegal immigrants, they are on their way out. President Trump was at the National Prayer Breakfast, has this bishop come up there and start preaching to him. We've got to keep these illegals in the country. They're the people who mow our lawns. They're the people who pick our crops. And Trump is sitting there looking at J.D. Vance like, what the hell is going on? Are we being
They should have left.
Right? And then, Rob, you get the Pope coming out of the Vatican, the man who watches the Catholic Church, pedophiles pray and thrive in the Catholic Church, a priest under his watch, comes out and says what President Trump's doing with these immigrants is wrong. Well, why don't you go take them, Mr. Pope, and bring them into the Vatican? You have a beautiful set of walls there. You have great security. Bring them to live in Italy with you at Vatican City.
Well, I'm a Catholic, and I'm a practicing Catholic, but I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that communists have infiltrated the Catholic Church, and I'll tell you why. This bear with me here. Here's one thing, and I'm not trying to make Catholics mad at me or whatever, but this is one thing I love about Islam is you don't depict Muhammad because you don't worship a false idol. You just worship God. But if you look at St. Peter's Square, all there is pictures of popes, which are men. They're just men. It's not Jesus. It's just popes. And Pope Francis, I don't care for him. Even look at Cardinal Dolan in New York. They allowed that a transgender hooker, drug dealer, a funeral in St. Patrick's Cathedral in Manhattan, one of the best churches in the world. And they're up there just cursing and talking, just blasphemy all over the place. Mm-hmm. The church doesn't stand up for this stuff too. And again, too, with the years of the it's as horrible as it is. And this is again with like Make America Great Again, make the church great again. I've heard people say that priests don't become pedophiles, pedophiles become priests. They need to clean their own house up. It probably starts with Pope Francis, who I'm not a fan of. But this is just a lot of the corruption that comes in. And I mean, even if you want to get so far into the demonic part of what's happening, because I believe in that too. Who's to say that the demons haven't infiltrated the church as well? I don't trust the Pope. I don't really care for the Vatican. It's more of a let's worship men who got to a certain spot who wear dresses and make you show up. Yeah, it's not just the Catholic Church, and I'm a practicing Catholic too. I grew up, I received all my sacraments. I grew up going to Catholic schools until they told me they didn't want me there anymore, and then I had to go test the public schooling system. It wasn't my own choice. I had no choice. But you go look, Rob, you want to do some fun, have some fun, and for the audience, go look at what the Catholic Charities and the Red Cross, for that matter, go look at what they do. Go look at at their harboring of illegal aliens. Go look at the money they spend, the money that you donate to them through the Catholic Church on illegal immigrants, and how they bring them into this country, and how they promote sex trafficking and human trafficking and drug trafficking by all this great work that they do down at the southern border. I want to take a quick break. We're talking with former Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill. We're coming right back. We're going to take that issue up on the other side of this break, as well as what's going to happen at that southern border. President Trump, on his first hour in office, shutting the damn thing down, sending the guard down there, shutting down CBP-1. He's playing no games. I thought he was going to come in and do what he said he was going to do, but I didn't think it was going to happen within the first hour. We're coming right back with Rob O'Neill. Stay with us.
Just like all of you, I had problems sleeping. I had tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. I'd flip-flop all night, use my arm for support and fall asleep, or I'd wake up with a sore neck or maybe a headache. Well, quality sleep comes from keeping your neck straight at night. You have to fill in that space between your head and your bed. That's why I invented My Pillow. My Pillow's patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs, and it doesn't matter if you sleep on your back, stomach, side, or any combination of all three.
When I got My Pillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get Classic King My Pillows for only $19.98. Queen size just $18.98. Standard Classic My Pillows only $14.98. That's right, only $14.98. Plus all orders $75 or more ship absolutely free.
Folks, we're back. Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill is with us. Rob, I want to turn to immigration. Catholic Charities, as I mentioned before, massive harbingers of illegal immigrants, sex traffickers, drug traffickers, and all those bad folks. And I mean, I assume some family members and good folks who come to that southern border, but you're all breaking the law. So you're all criminals by the rule of law. Mm-hmm. How does President Trump shore up this thing now for good? Does he finish building this wall? How does he protect it? How does he stop? The thing that terrifies the hell out of me, Robert, is the cartels revolting on the other side of the border, starting a ground war with CBP, Homeland Security, if the National Guard's down there. How do we put an end to this thing?
Well, you do exactly what President Trump just did and declare the cartels terrorists, terrorist organizations, because now we don't need to check with Mexico. When you check with Mexico, I don't know if you believe this, but a shit ton of them are corrupt. And they tell the cartels when we're planning anything, now we can Hussein Soleimani, all of them. We can find out where they are, track them however we know how to, send in a drone and bomb them. And that's what we're going to do. And you start crushing the cartels' leadership like that. You cut off the heads of the said snakes. That's one way you start to do it. Maybe Mexico can get on board along with sanctions there. And then you need to eliminate, usually kill on sight, the cartel members that are already here. It's going to need to be brutal, but it has to be. That's all they understand. And then you need to take away the incentives. Same with the California wildfires. Horrible policies led to that. You need to clean the forest or Mother Nature will. Mother Nature cleans with fire. We can clean this country with fire as well. Stop giving them free stuff. The incentives to get free hotels. And hotels are booking their places solid because they know the government will pay the bills. That's a business owner. Owns like one of the major hotel. Well, the government will pay. Fine. Put everyone in there. I don't care about cleaning fees because the FEMA or the federal government, whatever, will take care of it. Take all that away. You got to get rid of, like Trump just did with the instant citizenship for people who were born here. I understand where that came from, but now you've got 8-9 month pregnant women running here knowing that their kid will be a citizen. Got to get rid of that. The wall itself will work in some spots, but there are places you can't build it. The incentives to come here need to go away. If you want to build a wall, build it right by the Panama Canal and stop them from coming up there, then build another few in Mexico. But people are people, and the majority want better lives. I get it, but it's not my problem. Right. I work my ass off to pay taxes. I don't want to pay for these people. And seeing them cry at the border because they can't get in, I don't care. My child cries too, and she is an American. I'm over this. The America is the big golden parachute for every person who can't clean up their own house. Like clean your own house and tell me how to clean my house up too. It's like the same thing that bothers me about these whiny ass liberals and some of these professors. You're telling me in Southern California in 2025, you can't be prepared for or put out a fire. Right. However, you can change the climate of a planet by charging me more. It's ridiculous. And the crazy thing, this is why I'm surprised I don't have blood coming out of my ears right now. In 2 years, watch. The incumbents will be voted back in because I don't know if Americans I don't know if they just want the status quo or whatever, or just lazy, but some of the, look at Adam Schiff, horrible congressman owned by China. Now at least he's a senator. Come on. Get these incumbents out. Term limits. You can't get term limits because the lawmakers make the laws and they don't want term limits. It's the same reason that Paul Pelosi can make better stock picks than Warren Buffett. It could be some insider trading. Who knows? Get these people out. Everything should be moved out of D.C. I hope the president runs the country from Mar-a-Lago in Florida, or find a place in Texas. D.C. is corrupt. I mean, I didn't go to the inauguration just because I hate Washington, D.C.
I'm with you. I'm sitting in Las Vegas, Nevada right now. They voted for Trump in November, so I like these folks a lot better than the people over in D.C. But it's the incentives. I want to go back to that you had mentioned, because it's something I often say on the show. Robert, as Americans, you have babies at home. You're going to maybe have more kids. You're going to have a big family one day. You have to send those kids to school. And you know what? Eventually, one day when those kids turn 25 or 26 years old, they're going to have to pay for their own health care. If they decide to run their own company, they're going to pay out of pocket. Us as Americans, Robert, don't have any right to a healthcare system in this country, right? Obamacare told us if you don't buy healthcare, you're going to pay a fine. We don't have a right to it. But somehow these illegals come over here and they have a right to our healthcare system. They have a right to our school system, our public school system. Don't speak a word of English, but it's incumbent upon our faculty and our staff to go ahead and make sure these kids learn to speak English, or you just pass them, what the hell with it. You push them up the ladder and that's it. But they're taking up time and they're taking up class. And our standardized testing, Robert, scores, anyone can go look at them. They are rock bottom where we're at right now. A kid who's supposed to be at eighth grade reading level is at about a fourth grade reading level. In eighth grade, mathematics proficiency is about a third grade, which is absolutely pathetic. And it's a total joke. But we got guys like LeBron James out here who own schools and run schools and charter schools and this and that. And they want to preach to us about keeping immigrants here and doing this and doing that. Yet we have Americans who are absolutely dumb as hell because of our own government. And I'm not saying it as a slight to Americans. We are the greatest nation in the world, Rob. And I know you agree with me on that. There's no place like here. There's nothing America can't do. But what's being done right now to our children, what's being done to our society is not an accident. It's being done on purpose, and it needs to stop. We need to put an end to this, because America is going to fall behind in everything. You see what India wants to do now with sending H-1Bs over here like there's no tomorrow. China is eating our lunch. I mean, we're going to pretty soon fall behind countries like Guatemala in schooling.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of the Communist Manifesto. This, infiltrate the schooling, dumb down the kids, and then you're going to be able to have the one world government. I mean, even with they care so much about if the left thought that illegals coming in were going to vote Republican, the border would have been sealed a long time ago. Right. So this is all part of a process of keeping personal power, keeping your party in power. And they've shown over and over, the Democrats, especially Republicans, to a lesser extent, they care more about their party than they care about the country. And with their party comes personal power. The schooling system is because of the communists that have infiltrated, they're teaching more about like social justice. You have history teachers that don't know who we fought in the Revolutionary War, but they can tell you how many genders there are, how many different genders there are, how much nonsense there is, and how your feelings are. When you should be, and when you say that, like they don't even, a lot of these immigrants don't even speak English. It's not even Spanish. There are people coming in with dialects that no one knows what it is, but the teachers' unions just say, "Well, figure it out." No, you won't. Yeah. Get them out, learn English. And when you get here, math, communication, history, that's important. You don't need to learn about this social justice and equity. I mean, it's to the point now where even Nancy Pelosi recognized that if you tell the crowds something over and over and over, they're going to believe it. The madness of crowds. And so they've said the word equity so much, you think equity is the same as equality, which is not. But people hear equity, they think equality, and that's on purpose. That's why, like, the Inflation Reduction Act had nothing to do with inflation. It's all about the Green New Deal and stupid climate change. Right. But if we call it inflation reduction, dum-dums will go in there and vote it because they don't know any better. They think equity means equality, which it doesn't. It just means that person's stupid. Let's put him at the front of the line with everyone who worked hard. That's why, as a straight white guy trying to get on as a fire department, you're going to have to wait about 7 years before your application even gets read, simply because of equity, not equality. Meritocracy. We heard Pete Hegseth say that over and over in his confirmation hearing. Meritocracy. I don't know why anyone has a problem with that. Why not have the best of the best? If I'm getting on an airplane and I found out that 200 people applied for the job of captain and first officer, and they both happen to be females from India, but they were the two best, put them in there, I will fly on that plane. I don't want someone there simply because, well, we need this person or we need, no. Meritocracy, work hard, reward hard work, not laziness. And that is another cornerstone of make America great again. And we're on the way to making it great. It's just people, I hope we dummy up. I hope we get rid of the Department of Education and give it back to the states, because we've seen what the feds do to everything. Nothing.
Yep. Yeah, meritocracy, that's an absolutely brilliant point. While you're talking about that, I'm trying to bring up the job application to become a worker at said company, a company called Netflix. Speaking of meritocracy, everything now, Robert, is who you sleep with. Is it a man or a woman? What you describe yourself as gender. What you do in your free time. Are you pansexual, asexual? I'm trying to pull this up here because I wanted to go through for the audience some of the absolutely insane questions they ask you. Someone had sent it over to me. On a job application, why does it matter? Why are we even asking anybody what race they are, what color they are? What difference does that make when it comes to you getting a job? If you are, like you said, if you're at the top of the top, you take the damn thing. Yet when you go to apply for college, you have to tell them if you're black, white, Asian, Jewish, whatever, because they have to fill certain quotas. Why is that a thing in this country? Here, I just pulled this up. It's a self-ID. Before I get your response, I just want to go through this. Self-ID questions, and this is if you want to apply for a job for Netflix. Would you consider yourself to be a person with a disability? This is, I think, a standard government question that you have to answer on every single job application. But then we go down to the next one, Robert. Are you a person of transgender experience? What does that mean? Have you tried it once before? Do you like it? Do you want to keep doing it? To that, you could answer yes, no, or I choose not to disclose. From that, you go on, which gender identity do you most identify with? Agender, gender non-confirming, man, woman, I choose not to disclose. Gender fluid, gender queer, non-binary, not listed. What the hell is not listed? What sexual orientation do you most identify with? Asexual, gay, lesbian, queer, bisexual, heterosexual, pansexual, not listed. I choose not to disclose. Then it goes on to race, and then it goes on to, it's unbelievable, Robert. Why would you be asking somebody these questions? You're not supposed to even talk about politics in the workplace. Yeah, you're asking me who I'm going home and sleeping with?
There was so much in there. I was listening to it and fascinated. What application was that for?
This is for, I clicked on a random job. It's for a senior manager of workplace in New York for Netflix.
I'm laughing because I have a lot of gay friends too, and I had one of my gay friends. I had one of my gay friends tell me there's no such thing as a bisexual man. There's just a straight man who ran into a very clever gay man. Which I think that's awesome. Good on you. Great. And whatever, have fun at whatever you want to do behind closed doors, do it.
Right.
Just don't like it, as long as it doesn't affect anyone else and you're an adult, a consenting, do whatever you want. Right. But I'm trying to get a job at Netflix. Why do you care what my sexuality is? Why? That doesn't make sense. It's almost intrusive. You would think that, it even goes back to like the left's argument, trust the science. Science is not trusting it. Science is constantly questioning it. That's how you learn. No, that's it. That's bizarre that they would ask anything except anything that has to do with, it's crazy too. You mentioned LeBron James too, and we talk about meritocracy, but everyone's got to be equal unless you're talking about the NBA, because now we're just taking people based on merit. There should be more really short Asian dudes in the NBA. There should be more transgender men in the NBA, shouldn't there? Instead of the people who are just really good. Is that because we're paying for it and we want results? It's so backwards that everyone else needs to be force-fed this bullshit except for pro sports. But they're the ones too that say it's in the end zone. It takes all of us for what? What does it take all of us for? You're the one pushing it. I don't think anyone else. No one's out there. Like when that bishop, the evangelical bishop, it was spelled Budde. So I'm just going to call her Booty. But she's saying show mercy, have mercy. He's not attacking anyone. He's not trying to put transgender people in jail. He's just trying to bring something normal back to this country, which is great, which most people want. We just got to figure out why the media is so against that. Is it because they love personal power, they love being on TV, or they're in on it and they're going to get busted on stuff like Epstein's Island? What is the major media doing behind all this?
You mentioned the NFL, and I'm a huge football fan. I watch it as much as I possibly can. I want to know how many people who are inherently racist, which I'm sure there's a few of them, maybe like a 0.5% of the entire population of America, probably, right?
Yeah.
I wonder how many of those folks who are Klansmen or whatever the hell they identify as, whatever sick thing they identify themselves as. I wonder how many of them have watched an NFL game and seen end racism on the back of the end zone. It takes all of us and said, you know what? I'm going to stop being this damn racist today.
Yeah, it's funny. You bring up the KKK, founded by the Democrats, by the way. They don't like to talk about that. But it is too, like, when did you see something like that say, you know what, you're right? That's like prime example. We talk football. I I love the NFL. I was a huge Redskins fan, but the left took that away from me, so I have no love for them. But even think about that same town, Washington, D.C., they used to have an NBA team called the Washington Bullets, but that was too dangerous, so they changed it to the Wizards. But thank God they did, because once they changed the name from the Bullets, crime just went away in D.C., didn't it? Oh, wait, no, it's more dangerous than ever. It has nothing to do with it. Aunt Jemima was incredible. She's gone. Uncle Ben gone because some white liberal female attorney in D.C. was offended by it. That's why I lost my beloved Redskins. I got nothing but fantasy football now.
I'd love for you to come over and be a Giants fan so you can wallow in.
I'm so close on that too, because I live in New York. I love the NFC East, and I don't have a problem with the Giants. It's hard, growing up with Joe Theismann and Don Riggins and Darryl Green and Mark Rippon and Ricky Sanders, and I don't know. I do love Lawrence Taylor though.
Yeah, what a monster. You don't love Lawrence Taylor as a Redskin fan, but maybe as a person. It's truly remarkable. And it's the people, just before we move on here from the NFL, back during Christmas time, it's customary for every quarterback to get their offensive line like a cool gift, right? Something nice. Some of them gifts are better than others. So Joe Burrow, who plays for the Cincinnati Bengals, asked his lineman, what do you guys want for Christmas? And he says this in a press conference. This is a man with dyed hair, with bleach blonde dyed hair, who comes in with suits that would be highly marginable and questionable if there'd be men's or women's. And he says, the media asks him, what'd your teammates want for Christmas? And he goes, they wanted guns. I couldn't do that, so I bought them swords. And I'm like, dude, why are you going out there admitting that you're like this total beta male playing in Cincinnati, Ohio?
Cincinnati, I know. It's funny, too. I mean, and that frosted hair, too. You notice that Joe Burrow started playing worse once we realized he's actually a lesbian. So that's how that goes. But I mean, swords are cool, but get him guns. What's wrong with it? Get them. Most guns can be legal. There's, it's sad to see that, especially a contact combat sport and I love the NFL, and I've had really good experiences with a lot of the front offices and the players too. I know we get political about certain, if you get to that level, you're just a badass. And I have respect for everyone that plays. But yeah, the not get swords are cool. It's a close-in weapon system. Fine. It's more cruel to hit someone with a sword than than shoot him with a gun. But if I'm like one of his linemen and I have a sword and someone breaks into my house, I don't care what they have. I'm winning that fight as a lineman with a sword.
Can you imagine the news story you make? I only want a sword if it's signed by Randy Jackson. It's the only sword I'm accepting for anyone who's. That's a Step Brothers reference, the movie Step Brothers. Will Ferrell was once a great actor, but
are we best friends? You want to do karate in the garage? I know the movie.
One of the greatest movies of all time. I want to take one more quick break here, Robert. We're speaking with Robert O'Neill, former Navy SEAL. He's the host of the Operator podcast. We recommend it to everybody. Rob, when we return in our final segment, I want to take up Trump's cabinet picks. Who we think is getting through. Are they all getting through, or some of them going to have a tougher time than others? I also want to take up two particular things. Actually, we'll call it three. Paris Climate Accord, you had mentioned about saving the environment, and somehow it includes spending money, which is mind-blowing to me. The WHO, the World Health Organization, who's taken a massive L on the chin, and they're going to be for the next 4 years. And the World Economic Forum, and the role that they're going to now play in the world, the Davos elites, as President Trump is back, and he's not going to take any crap from them. I think he had enough in his first term, and after what happened to him, the failed assassination attempts, the lawfare, the everything, he's had enough, and he's done. So I want to take all that up when we return. We're talking with Rob O'Neill, former Navy SEAL and host of the Operator podcast. We're coming right back.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that we're making it through. My employees and I want to thank you for your continued support by extending our wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows only $14.98. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98. But it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including my standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
Folks, we're back. We're talking with Navy SEAL Rob O'Neill, and he's the host of the Operator podcast. Robert, I want to turn to really first, it was something we were talking about over the break, and it's the incoming administration and the outgoing one. Obama ending his third term. It looks like it's done for him to ever, be back in power unless he finds somebody new to anoint. Him taking the blame for Biden stepping aside. Biden steps aside. He blames Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Kamala comes in and loses. She's blaming her husband, George Clooney. Every single one of these people, Robert, blamed each other. They pointed the finger like that Spider-Man meme, and nobody took the blame for it like a bunch of children that they are. Instead of looking at what the real problem is, the Democratic Party pushing us further into the WHOs of the world, pushing us further into the WEFs of the world, the World Economic Forums, pushing us into this whole globalist agenda that America is the world police, America is dominant on the world stage, we must rule the world. Why couldn't the Democrats just heed the warnings that were coming to them this whole time that they're the problem? It's not George Clooney. I hate George Clooney, but he wasn't the problem. Joe Biden, I mean, he could say he was the problem. The guy lost his mind. He got a little funny towards the end there, but he wasn't the problem. It's the agenda that these Marxists have pushed. Why haven't these people smartened up, Robert, and said, you and I are looking at this from outsiders? Why haven't they heeded the warnings and say, like, we're the problem?
I think they're too close to the sun on this one. They, if you realize too, if they didn't pull all the nonsense they pulled back in 2020, they'd be done with Trump as of 4 days ago.
Right.
But instead, you go back to Barack Obama saying, if I could get a patsy up front and I'm in my basement, my sweats with an earpiece, I'll have a third term, which he did. You mentioned the WHO, which we're out of. We should be, because it's not out of the realm of possibility that the one world government, to include China, hated Trump so much they had a lab leak and turned into a lockdown. And all of a sudden we're voting from our houses and there's 15 million extra votes. And Joe Biden's the most popular president in the history of the galaxy. You look back on it now, it's like, how did everyone fall for this nonsense? But they did. The media's covering it up. Karine Jean-Pierre, everyone saying that he's, I think, sharp as a knife was used, and I can't keep up with them, knowing they're lying. The media's lying. George Clooney's seen him up close. And then they have the debate and they're all like, oh, well, we didn't know. How were we supposed to know? Well, you've been covering up for him the entire time. And then, even look at like Nancy Pelosi, who's scared to death right now because she started the coup with Chuck Schumer to get a sitting president out. She didn't get pardoned. That could be something, because Joe Biden's still upset about that. I think he's more mad at the Democrat Party than he is at Donald Trump because he's finally out of it too. But they've been pushing this BS covered by the media and the left and universities and all this stuff that eventually the music's going to stop and someone's not going to have a chair, and that's what's happening. And you're seeing you turn the lights on, the roaches scatter. Some people, I think, are going to be okay. Barack Obama's charismatic and he's loved by a lot of people. He'll be fine. Nancy Pelosi's hated. Chuck Schumer's hated. What's going to happen with them? What happens when we actually find out what happened with the lockdowns and why did Fauci get pardoned back to 2014? Is it because they're meddling, playing God with viruses that aren't ready yet, but they could potentially make vaccines for crap that you won't need unless you get this, which you will. So people become billionaires. A lot of billionaires because, and I don't even say the COVID pandemic, it's because the world government run lockdowns that kept us all at home, to the point where with the madness of crowds, you see what happens to the people when people they were dying to tell on their neighbors. They couldn't wait to tell on their buddy that went surfing by himself. We literally in New York City had NYPD walking around on the Sabbath days, knocking on doors, looking for too many Jews in the house. Are you kidding me? That happened in the 30s. It wasn't good. They were doing it here because of the craziness that the Democrats, the media, the elites, the left, the George Soros has brought into this. So it's just good to see us coming in. And it's almost like people are now you don't really realize how many freedoms you've lost until you start to get them back. Right. And the Trump administration, 45, had 4 years to get lawyers ready for all this, all of the executive orders, get ready for what's going to happen with the reattacks. They're ready for this too. And they stopped the cheat, except in California, where if it takes you for an election where, we can elect American Idol in one night, but it takes a month and a half to count all the votes for one congressional seat, you might be cheating in 2025. You might have cheated in 2020. And don't play dumb. We all know everyone knows what happened. Right. Some people aren't allowed to say it because they're afraid of getting canceled. Present company excluded because I don't really care. I'm calling it like I see it, and I like to tell the truth. And what I like about telling the truth is it's really easy because you don't need to remember a lie. You don't get caught in BS.
Exactly.
And that's where I'm at right now.
You bring up such a good point. I sat for hours, probably close to 20 hours on 2 depositions for Fox News, where we were sued by Smartmatic and Dominion voting systems. And, I sat there with these lawyers, man, and I always wanted to be a lawyer, so I like to play one when I can. And the lawyers that I had representing me, they had called me weeks before, and they said, do you want us to prep you? Let's meet and prep. I said, my lawyer's name is Scott. I said, Scott, I don't need to meet and prep because I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to tell the truth. I remember everything. I'm a 30-year-old kid. I remember everything. I know what happened. I know what we did. We did nothing wrong. I'm going to go in there and tell the truth. Okay, no problem. So I get in there, man, and I'm sitting there with my lawyer, and I did it in person because I wanted to see these guys face to face. And I'm sitting there, and this guy starts questioning me, and I'm looking at him, and I'm being extremely condescending to him because he's wasting my time. It's a hot summer day, and I kept telling him, let's come out. And he can only keep me there for 6 or 7 hours at a clip. So I said, let's hurry up. I got a golf course to go out and go play some golf. And I'm messing with this guy the whole time because he's wasting my time. So I'm going to waste your time. And he starts getting to the questions, and he's saying, how do you know the election was stolen? And he says, well, Chris Krebs and the CISA came out right after the election within days, and they told us it was the most secure election in history. And I looked at this guy, I said, you're a lawyer, right? Yes. You went to a good law school? Well, yeah. I said, if you can't send in your tax returns and get a damn refund in less than 2 months, you're going to tell me that 150 million people came back and voted, and you come back 2 days later and say, everything's good, everything's clean, it was a great election? I said, for any smart person, that's going to ring a bell that something's wrong because you cannot confirm that in 2 days. This guy looked at me like this, and my lawyer's sitting there like this, like, oh my God, this guy just fucking abused him. And this was the whole thing. Lou Dobbs, maybe God rest his soul, read my depositions, man, and he was crying on the floor but this is what it is. This is lawfare. If you speak out against it, if you speak out against the deep state, they're coming for you, and they want to kill you, and they want every single damn dollar to your name. But anybody can look at it, like you said, the deviations of Democrat votes. It goes like this, and then in 2020 it goes like this, and then back in 2024 it comes back down like this. Rob, it doesn't take a mathematician, a statistician, a physicist, a mechanical engineer. That is an abnormality that we need to look at.
Statisticians looked at the votes in 2020 and said it's mathematically impossible. Right. The way that curve went. It's that's just the way it went, and we're supposed to go with it again because they repeat the same. You notice too, if a lot of the news networks also, if right after the election, if you started talking about it, the hosts were, and I'm talking most news stations, were told in their morning meetings, and we know we have them every morning at like 8 a.m. They were told, you have to say, but you do admit it was a free and fair election, right? No, I don't admit. No, and you heard it over and over on pretty much every news station to say they're in cahoots too. And here's something I love to try this one next time. Because you talked about how condescending they can be. Whenever I use that, I'll say to someone, I don't mean to be condescending. Oh, that's when you talk down to someone, by the way. Right. Anyway, just completely condescending. But it's just I hope there's sort of an awakening too. And a lot of it comes from Elon Musk buying up X, because no longer are you getting suppressed, no longer are you getting banned. And other people like Mark Zuckerberg, they're even playing the victim now, seeing what's happening. And what's very ironic is Elon Musk is going to, he said he's going to do everything in his power to destroy the system because they took his son away from him with this woke mind virus that made his son be transgender, which means he's never getting his son back. His words, not mine. So the woke mind virus pushed Elon Musk towards it, because Elon Musk is not a classic conservative. He's a liberal, but he sees what's possible. And because he was giving free speech back to people, we're allowed to say what we want. If it stays that way, God hope Meta comes that way. Honest people can be winning elections for the rest of our lifetimes. And I hope that's the way, because there's nothing wrong with being energy independent, being with a powerful America comes a powerful world. And people in Europe are seeing this now. They're saying it's a sign of a good future, because if America can do it, we can do it. And it starts with getting rid of these people at the top that are lying about everything.
A powerful America, another point that you bring up that's so brilliantly and saliently put. A powerful America doesn't mean America is over in Afghanistan, over in Iraq, raiding people's houses and destroying communities. A powerful America can mean speak strongly, softly, and carry a big stick, which is something that we've lost. A question Lou used to ask when we bring on military guys on the show is, when was the last time America really won a war?
World War
And,
II.
you have people come in there and they say, well, you can consider the Gulf, you could, but you really go back and you think like we're a losing nation when it comes to this. Why do we keep going back in for the same thing when eventually there's going to be a real war? And what I've been saying is we have a war on our southern border. You want to win a war for statistics? You want to win a war for history? Let's go down to our own southern border where we have our men in our own country, and let's fight that war that we can win a lot faster than Russia can win in Ukraine. Mm-hmm.
Well, the last war we won was World War II, which is coincidentally the last time Congress declared war on anyone to a bunch of European countries and then Japan. We go to prolonged wars because a lot of people in the military industrial complex get paid a lot. That's why we do it. That's why we stay there for as long. We don't have interest in winning a war because there's no money in that. The reason we leave everything behind too is because we'll make more, and that's it. And what we need to do with a strong America also is we need to rebuild alliance solidarity. We threw that out the window when we bailed on Afghanistan, and it wasn't just leaving the locals to the Taliban. You got to figure some of our allies were like in Herat in Western Afghanistan, 6 dudes with some Afghans. And all of a sudden the next day they find out America's gone. Oh my God. What do we do now? Why would we trust America again? Why can we get sources in different countries again? It won't work because no one trusts us. We need to rebuild, and it takes a while. And hopefully we're back on that track too. But again, it doesn't mean invading anyone. It means that you got to figure something no one brings up. If we go to war with China right now, the United States will run out of missiles in a week and a half. And we've lost every war game that I can think of to China. That's real. The Ukraine is money laundering, and they're worried we're going to find out what's actually happening and who's getting paid. Mm-hmm. The whole thing with, Russia will keep moving into Poland. No, they won't.
Exactly. Once again, brilliantly put, that a lot of people don't understand or seem to understand. Connor Doug McGregor is one who gets a lot of backlash on this, and I have him on often to talk about it, and he says the same exact thing. But you hear back on Twitter, he's a Russian stooge, he's a Russian pawn, he works for Vladimir Putin, and you're just like, enough's enough. It's unbelievable. You mentioned sources, which plays an integral role for which I'm sure played a massive role in the raid on Osama bin Laden's compound, on where he was at what point in time, and so on and so forth. Forget about confidential sources and people who are working for the CIA and going into these hellhole territories to get intel. I was sitting at a blackjack table here in Vegas the other night, and I'm talking to a guy, and I'm telling him I'm a pilot, and he goes, "Don't you need 20/20 vision to be a pilot, corrective vision?" I go, "No." He goes, "What about for the military?" I go, "Buddy, you realize how short it is to get people, how hard it is to get people to come to the military? They're going to start taking blind people to fly F-35s because that's how bad it's gotten." Because, I respect you more than a lot of people have on the show, and it's, your military service and everything you've done for this country, right? And I respect everybody who's went to this country. It takes a special person these days, Rob, to go into the military. I wouldn't for $1 million go into the military, and it's not anything personal. It's not because I'm not a man. It's because of what this country is capable of doing. I don't believe in going overseas into the Middle East and raiding everybody's single country. I don't believe in that. If our military and our fundamental principles were what they were in the beginning, fight wars when they need to be fought and defend the homeland, you can sign me up tomorrow. I may have a hard time passing the physical, but I'll do my best. But the way it is now, I can't imagine anyone allowing their 18-year-old son and daughter to go down to that office and sign up. And until these people start to wake up and realize, Rob, that that's the real problem, we're going to have a very, very, very tough time in our military.
Yeah, it's a hard time recruiting now too, and hopefully Pete Hegseth gets confirmed, and we can change some of the stuff up. Lowering the standards is nonsense. The DEI hires are nonsense. The green energy is nonsense. I mean, you got to figure the greenest energy we have is nuclear. Why don't they just love nuclear? Well, it's a bad word because they were told it should be emission free. You think the left would love that. But I mean, I've heard stories too, just recently of the Naval Academy has about a 90% graduation rate from SEAL training because they screen the guys so hard at the academy in Annapolis that most of the guys make it through because they're screened. But now, this just happened. The bottom 5 guys out of the men that are trying out for SEAL training were dismissed and kicked out because of the top 5 women. Now the women can't pass the basic test, so they're keeping them there for another year, basically to try to get them physically ready. Those women are going to quit within 20 seconds when they put their heads under the boats. They won't even. No woman. They've tried to get some in, haven't made it to one day. And they're going to keep pushing it. That needs to go away. Not that I don't love women, not that women don't have their place,
Seriously.
but everyone's not equal when it comes to shooting. If you cannot, if you need a year of remediation so you can carry me after I get shot home to my wife, you don't belong there. If you can, you deserve a shot. But why?
Right.
This is a 500-meter swim they can't pass. If you can't swim 500 meters right now, don't try to be a Navy SEAL.
Yeah. And there's nothing, like you said, there's nothing sexist about it. There's jobs that are made for men. There's playing in the NFL, as we were talking about before, is a man's job. There's no disputing that. You have the NBA is a man's job. The WNBA is a women's job. Difference in size of players, difference in size of people. But that's what it's come to now, Rob. It's come to now. You have to accept it for what it is. And even if it means you're going to have 3 guys laying dead on a battlefield because you can't get their bodies out because you have 3 women who can't get it. And like I said, it's not being sexist. There's nothing sexist about it. It's just the truth of the matter. Men are stronger than women. It's the reason why we don't want men in women's sports. Common sense.
Yeah, I agree. And I've said before too, like the women in the UFC could kick my ass, but they're exceptions. The majority, what I'm getting at is lowering the standards doesn't work, but that's what they're going to end up doing. Wait and see. Well, I don't know. This hopefully is a new light too with the election of Donald Trump, because hopefully we can bring some normalcy back. But historically, the military lowers standards, which is a shame because it shouldn't be a social experiment. The military, get rid of a lot of the crap. The military is supposed to kill people and break their things. That's about it. Let the diplomats in the State Department do stuff.
Before we wrap up here, I want to get to some of his Trump's confirmation picks, which we already have someone going through. Marco Rubio is among the first to be unanimously voted in. RFK is one that I'm quite excited for. He's a Democrat, but he's got one simple task in mind. And when I hear Mike Pence going against him, I know that he's the man for the job, because Mike Pence is
100%.
no good.
Yeah.
But specifically, you had mentioned Pete Hegseth. How does he clean up this damn Pentagon? How does he go? Now, it obviously starts with taking that damn picture of Mark Milley off the wall. That's step one. But how do you clean up this military? Step 2, after taking that off the wall, is reinstating these folks who were kicked out for no vaccines. Step 3 is getting rid of DEI. Once you move past all that good stuff and that procedural stuff, how do you get to the real heart of the problem? How do you get the recruitment goals up? How do you get to America's stockpiles back to where they need to be? How do you get to where America isn't the world police anymore? And can
you start firing thousands of people at the Pentagon? You eliminate civilians that have an equivalent rank, like GS something is equivalent to a colonel. No, it's not. Beat it, nerd. I'm a big believer in redundancy as far as like nuclear codes and stuff, but we don't need it to a point where every major in there is trying to make sure he spends his budget so next year he gets the same budget. That's why toilet seats are $500 a piece. You should be rewarded with a bigger budget for saving money. Just like if he needs a hatchet man, I don't even need a rank or a paycheck. Give me a month. I'll go fire a bunch of people. I'll get all these 04s that don't have parking spots, their own parking spot, because I'll have most 2, 3, 4-star generals fired. Like they said, that we had 7 4-star generals the last time we won a war, and now there's I don't know how many 4 stars, 44. That's a ton of them. You don't need an admiral per boat. It's ridiculous. A chain of command. I have a different feel. I don't have a big belief in the pyramid top down type stuff. I believe in leadership based on your physical position, but we can go to that too. Just some of the academics need to leave. I love Pete because he's I've always said a mid-level officer with boots on the ground, knows his men, especially Pete because he played college basketball at Princeton, being known for the hardest working guy on the team just to get on the court. That's the guy you want, the guy that'll talk to the people underneath him and won't get political. Too many. The second you stop carrying your own luggage, you need to leave the military. And that's where we're at too. And a lot of these Millies and different people like him are just, they're jockeying for a position either with a contracting agency or a political future. And that's what they're doing. That's why they got to toe the party line. That's why you get the chairman of the Joint Chiefs in a hearing saying he's white and he needs to understand white rage because I don't understand. Shut up.
Everyone thinks it's so necessary for someone like Milley. He comes in, he puts on that cute little costume that he wears. He's not a man inside. He's less of a man than, half of the women out there. But everyone's so mindset on you need to look a certain way, act a certain way, and have a certain resume. And this is why Trump is so hated. a certain resume to take that job. And Pete Hegseth got a lot of flack because, oh, well, you don't have the experience. Well, for the last, I don't know, like 500 years, we've put people in position who have had the experience, who have had the resumes. And look where they've got us into. Look at the wars that we're in. Look at Afghanistan. Look at Iraq. Look at Gaza. Look at Israel. Look at Ukraine and Russia. Go down the list. Go look at our military equipment that's left behind. Go look at what we did in Syria. Go look at what's about to happen in Iran. And this is all done, Rob, by people who play the part, who look the part, who have the hair, who have the tenacity, and they're great. But look at what they've got us into. And I think people need to open their eyes and say, well, Pete Hegseth may not have the experience of a Pentagon official, maybe a TV guy, maybe a good-looking man with good hair, but give the guy a shot, because what's been working in the past is not working.
No, I've been advocating for someone like him for a long time. And the beauty of this is you confirm him, and then we'll find out. If we're wrong, then we're wrong. Then we'll go back to the status quo. But the people that got the jobs because they checked certain boxes and they look a certain way, they're the ones who reversed it, telling people in the military, well, just be yourself. You need to express it. No, you don't. You get a uniform, you get a haircut, because we're all the same, period. I know so many Marines and soldiers that said, myself included, I was in there before, worked with white guys, black guys, worked with women, and I didn't see, all we saw was green. We're the same color. Right. We're uniform. That's why we march left, right, left. And then now it's just like, I get so disgusted when I go to airports in New York and look at the National Guard, dudes with beards and wrinkled uniforms, a long sling, which means they don't know how to carry their weapon. They don't inspire confidence. They just inspire, here's DEI. Perfect.
Well, the problem is, Rob, who else are we going to get to do it? It's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it's absolutely terrible. And there's no excuse for what you just said. There's no excuse for any of that stuff. We need to start making men.
Meritocracy and standards. Pass the basic tests, and if you don't, you're like SEAL training, man. It's equal opportunity. You have an equal opportunity to show up. If you don't make it, beat it. That's it. It's not hard.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I want to end on something you said, because once again, you made an absolute brilliant point.
Thank you.
Bring in Pete Hegseth. See if he's the man for the job. If he's not the man for the job, Rob, who better than Donald J. Trump to say you're fired? I mean, like, is there anyone better?
No, and you know what's funny is if that happened, Donald Trump would say it. That's how he rolls. Pete would accept it. That's how he rolls. Honesty. If I know Pete Hegseth well, known him for years, and if he doesn't feel like he's up to it, he will say it. But when he is. And he won't even be the guy to say, I told you so. He will do what Donald Trump does. Let success speak for itself.
Right. And that's what we need more of. Rob O'Neill, you're a great American. The Operator podcast, where can people listen and when?
Well, they can check it out at the Operator podcast on Instagram or anywhere where podcasts are found, on YouTube. The Operator, Rob O'Neill, and they're just released one today, and it's a blast. And, if I don't make any sense, I promise there's at least some good humor.
Folks, we recommend it to you highly. As you hear, we've come up on a time block and a time constraint. We could talk for another 2 hours about all the problems going on in this government. Rob, come back soon, brother, please.
Anytime.
Thanks, everybody, for being with us today. Please be sure to join us back here tomorrow for the Great America Show, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues. We'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Until then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs.